everybody, this is JP. This is JP's Garage Show, and today I've got this pretty cool UFO made out of broken skateboards, covered in epoxy, and it glows. So, pretty magical stuff here. Let's get into it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. So the first thing you're going to want to do is grab some skateboards and chop them up into little tiny pieces. We're not even going to worry about sanding down the stickers on the underside because I think it's going to be kind of cool watching them come through the epoxy. But cut them up into a good shape and we're going to shove them into a little cup. And so you're going to want to get some sour cream, preferably the light kind, if you're trying to keep your weight down, and stuff that sucker after you eat the sour cream, of course. This might actually be a surprise for a lot of you, but the container doesn't actually have to come from the sour cream, but it's what I had, so that's what I used. It can literally be any other plastic container, so use what you got, and then just kind of like shove them in there really good. Try to fill up the whole thing. The goal here is to use the least amount of epoxy as possible because that stuff don't come cheap. But we're going to start here with a little tiny pour, just a cap size full, you know. Dab will do ya. 2 dabs will do ya. You need the hardener and the resin and then mix it up real good, really good. Don't stop mixing. You might want to turn on like a song or something in the background because this part gets a little bit tedious. Especially with such a little amount, you can't really use the drill. It'll get everywhere. Then just kind of start dripping it over the top. And this is basically just to glue those things together, keep them in place so that they don't start floating when you do the big pour, because it's the worst when your wood starts floating to the top. It's like, what are you going to do? You got to fix it before the epoxy dries because it's like you're almost screwed. If you can't figure out how to weight it down at that point, then project might be out the window. If you can figure it out, then you're amazing, genius. And so we're going to pour the glow powder on top of this. After it's all set in there, we use it all. Don't want to waste that stuff. And you'll see the glow powder in a second. And this is the glow powder. Look at that. Bada bing. It's glowing. You can just do a quick Amazon search for some glow powder and get yourself some of that. Tons of options on there. So just sprinkle it on, shake it around, get it where you want it. Put a bunch so that it glows pretty good. Like that. Ooh. And now you can let it dry and come back to it. And then do the final pour. You're going to want to mix together the rest of your epoxy. Not the rest, depending on how much you have. But enough to fill this cup pretty good. So mixy, mixy. Mixy, mixy. And this one I grabbed the drill because it's way easier. And if you don't have a pressure tank, you're going to want to apply some heat to try to get rid of the bubbles that are coming out of this thing. There's going to be a bunch of bubbles anyhow, just what I found out, but you know, you got to try. And now it's solid. So wait a few days for it to solidify and then you'll get something like this. And now I'm sanding the bottom because I'm going to epoxy glue it to some wood, and this way we're going to attach it to the lathe and start spinning. So I've got this 2-part epoxy glue. Stuff's pretty cheap. I got it at Harbor Freight, but it does not smell good at all. So works pretty great though. So we're not in it for the smell. We're in it for the product, right? There we go. And I have this little round piece of walnut that I'm gluing with the bottom. This is going to be the base of the little UFO that I'm going to carve out, and so the bottom of it. And then we're going to put some glue on the bottom of that, and then attach it to this lighter block of wood here as our blank. And finally we get to the more ASMR part of the video, the turning on the lathe. So just relax and watch me shape this chunk of material into a nice little UFO. Let the sounds soothe your inner soul. Now that I've got the shape that I'm looking for, I'm going to apply wet and dry sandpaper. So I'm getting it wet, and then I'm just going to start at a lower grit and work my way to a really fine grit so I can try to get this thing as shiny as possible. You see it actually looks really sweet when I put water on there. Starts to look like what we want the finished product to look like. So we'll see if we can get there. And at this point, I think the highest grit I did was 2000 grit, and it's looking pretty sweet, so it's time for the finish. I'm using this clear gloss polyurethane spray. Gotta shake it for 2 minutes, so shake it good. Here's the first coat. I tried to spray it nice and even, not too much. Thin layers. That way you don't get any drips or globs anywhere. Now this is the second coat. I'm shaking again, I'm spraying again. More thin layers. And here's the third coat. Nice and quick third one, more thin layers. And now it's time to separate the piece of artwork from the blank. So I'm using this neat little separation cutter I have for the lathe, and I'm going to try to trim it down really good, not too far because I don't want it flying off when it gets really thin. And then I'm just going to saw the rest of the way, as you will see right here. And I know my hand's in the way for this shot, but I'm just taking off whatever's left on the bottom of that sucker. And so it's smooth right there, you can see. And we're going to put Velcro underneath. I'm actually sticking this in the dash of my car because I am a Lyft driver, and people are going to see it and they're going to say, wow, that's pretty cool. I'm going to say, hey, check it out, this is how I made it. And as you can see, it's going to be sitting pretty close to bobblehead Bob Ross over there. That one gets a lot of comments from Lyft riders, and so he's got a little buddy. Looks like this UFO might be coming to abduct him or something. It's pretty sweet. And it glows at night when I drive through tunnels and whatnot. It looks pretty cool. Made out of broken skateboards. So this piece was a lot of fun. In other news, I just got a vintage van, and I'm going to be working on a ton of stuff on the van. I'm going to be trying to make videos, so look forward to that. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the van videos. Thank you so much for following me. Peace out.